internet brings comic fans around the world into one comic community. We support the just pay and recognition of these comic creators, comic fam. Because comics are for everyone. It's 10 p.m. Eastern, live from the United States to Australia. This is the Not Near Mint Show. Welcome to the Not Near Mint Show. Today we have some very special guests. We got 4. Let's bring them all in now. It's called Scott Snyder Presents Tales from the Cloakroom. Hello, panel.
Hello, everybody.
Well, this isn't quite the most we've ever had on our show, and that's probably a good thing, because we want to make sure that everybody gets their time to shine. So there's a new book out. It's now up at talesfromthecloakroom.com. So from what I gather, Scott Snyder put together from his Substack something like a masterclass, and the idea was around a jacket. And the writers would come up with an idea surrounding that. And much like an anthology, we have about 109 pages. And y'all worked on it. So we want to hear how this came together. Who wants to start?
Aubrey, I'm going to make you do it this time. You have to start.
I've made them do it so many times. So Joe G. Schuster, one of the part of the editorial team, had the idea to do a anthology that kind of paid homage to Scott, because his branding is Best Jacket Press, and so we were like, okay. So he was like, okay, let's center it around a jacket, and then Ben O'Grady came on, and then a lot of the writers and creators came on. I came on a little bit late to editing, but yeah, then we just kind of ran with it, and I don't know, many months later, we're here with a book. So,
and I came on last to the editorial team. I came on first as a writer, and then during the script review process, I was just liking it so much that Aubrey was kind enough to take me under her wing, and then I learned from the best. So there we go.
That's a high compliment. I don't think I'm the best, but I try.
Well, you're in good company, because I am the worst.
Oh, there we go.
So in putting this comic together, how long did it take from inception, from concept into development, into where we are today?
Sure. So I guess Scott's, when all of the comics writers started headed to Substack, and there was this big hoopla about it, Scott's got a lot of our attention because it was an actual writing class. He holds classes once a month. Each one tackles a different subject. And so after a couple of months of that, I think in the fall, that's when Joe G. Schuster first proposed hey, what if we got together and did a comic book? There's like 1,000+ people in the Discord for the class. So they started throwing it out to the class, and that's when it started coming together, and we set up a little Discord for the people that were interested. So I would say it started last fall, maybe September. By the time October, mid-October rolled around, we started doing the peer reviews and the script reviews and the editorial reviews of everything. So we've been going at it since October. So we've gone through various phases. We had the script review process, and then when the art came back, we had to deal with, all of the trim check to make sure it was ready to print, because we wanted to front load everything. So we took care of it all up front rather than waiting for the Kickstarter to get funded and then start the process. So we've been at it for what, Aubrey, since October, right?
Yeah, I came on to the team in September, but I went out of town. So I was like, I can't do anything until October 15th. So that's kind of when we really started rolling with like the review process, and scripts were due by, I think, November 1st. And then art was due by sometime in February. Yeah. So, yeah.
So it sounds like it went pretty quickly just to get everything together from the very beginning to today.
Boy, it doesn't feel like it on our end. It took like forever. But yeah. Yeah, I think for an anthology, like I think people expect things to move a lot quicker than they do, but like it is such a significant amount of work, like wrangling 20 stories and making sure everybody's art's okay and checking for like CK did most of the like proofreading once we had art files with lettering, and like it's just a lot because it's over 100 pages. So
even at 100, whoa, kitties. And that's why you shouldn't allow pets in your comic room. I completely lost my thought track there. When you have expensive comics,
Attack of the Kittens
hacking, that might happen. As the pages were coming in, as you're seeing them reviewed, are there many changes that need to be made from the start when the writer presents this to the artist? And has there been much challenge pairing up the writer with the artist? Or is this all part of Snyder's class?
So we actually had them find their own teams. So, because like that happens a lot in indie comics. So that was like practical approach. Like you have to find your own team. And there were times where a lot of our writers are newer or emerging, and so a lot of them didn't have a ton of experience like art checking, and a lot of writers in comics honestly don't have a lot of experience art checking or knowing where to look for, like, where's the safe area on a page, because even some artists who've been doing comics for a while, like we have gorgeous pages that we still had to go back with the writer and have them go back with the art team and say, hey, this bubble is going to be cut off. And so I mean, it was a lot, but like there were definitely like changes to a good chunk of the stories, but everybody worked really hard to get them where they needed to be so that we could print them in the book. So.
Yeah, I think we finished up script review about mid-December. That took about a month and a half to you got 20 stories to get through that got approved, and we had more than that to review to try to get them ready. And then when the art came back, when Aubrey is saying that we had everyone form their own teams, what we wanted to do is, it's very common in the indie world to have to, do all the legwork yourself, especially when you're doing like anthology submissions, etc. And in the spirit of Scott's class, we wanted to go, this isn't like we need to give you resources. We need to show you how to do this when you're ready to go do it on your own, kind of thing. And so when we definitely helped people if they needed to find an artist, we would say, here's a great resource. Here's a great, here's a great place on Reddit. Here's a great group on Facebook that you can usually find good artists and things like that. So even though they were responsible for their own groups, to find their own teams, we did make sure that they understood, hey, we have resources available for you. I found my artist, Deborah Lanchinese from Ben O'Grady, who recommended it and said, hey, after reading your script, I think she would be a great fit. And so it was things like that where we just kind of bounced ideas off of each other. And it's been an amazing community in that respect, is all of us learning from each other.
And so far, have you been shopping around to various creators of the industry, some of the scripts, just to get their take on it yet?
You mean as far as the anthology itself, have we given it out to creators to get their feedback and stuff?
Yes.
Yes. So once we had like a rough proof ready and we started reaching out to people as we closed in on the Kickstarter launch and getting all of that ready, we started reaching out and giving people rough proofs to get pull quotes from them, get their feedback, see if what they thought of the collection. Brent Fisher and Michelle Abinator with Color of Always and now Extra Pages Press, Failhound, And We Love You, and Commander Rao, etc. We reached out to Travis Gibb, Drew Linhart, various people in the indie world that we wanted feedback on. We do want to make it clear also, this came out of Scott's like writing Substack course, but and they've been extremely supportive. He and his team have been extremely supportive, but we definitely don't want to give any impression that Scott has been involved in the process, like at a Sorry, my dogs are distracting me. At like every step of the process, guiding us or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we don't want to give the impression that like, oh, well, Scott hooked us up with, all these creators and they like read it. But in the indie community, yeah, we've definitely put it out there to a good dozen people or so and wanted to get what they thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was on the finished art on scripts wise. Like Chris and I both provided at least 2 rounds of editing to every story, sometimes a lot more. And then we also had peer groups where they edited each other. So like those scripts got a lot of looks on them before they went to the art phase. And that was really important to me as someone who has been an editor for a long time, mostly outside of comics, but now more in comics the last few years, that like we put forth the most polished product we could, even as we went to art. So
yeah, that's cool that a lot of that the writers weren't like just thrown to the wolves and just survive and make a story, but there was still a lot. There was a lot of guidance that went along through the process. But I think that's important just in any learning experience. It's how you learn. You kind of have to have like a mentor that guides you, but also you have to like put yourself out there and like learn how to do the work.
Yeah.
So I like that process.
I loved it because we got to give them so much input. I'm sorry to interrupt. And we got it like our hands have been in every piece of this process, and our writers were so good and receptive. So
And what's been great too is that the community that's been set up now, we have monthly hangouts and we run pitches by each other and like, hey, let's have a post-mortem. Why did a lot of you not make it into this collection? Let's analyze your pitches and see what might have happened there. And so it continues to be a nice little writers community that we've built for ourselves. It's really cool.
It sounds great.
And the fact that Scott Snyder's name, while it might be on the top of the book, I like how I can correlate this to about a year or two ago, Marvel put out a Spider-Man book where they, for some reason, stuck J.J. Abrams' name on the book. He didn't write it. It was his son, Henry Abrams.
Yeah.
And as I was reading this first issue, I go, this is pretty good. Pick up this second issue. Hey, this kid can write. Third issue. All right, I'm on board. By the end of it, why didn't they just put Henry's name in the front of this? Well, it got me to pick up the book. And if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't see J.J. Abrams' name on the book, I might not have picked it up. And correlating this back to Tales from the Cloakroom, there were 2 specific stories. And I know that Ace was the first one to go, you have to read this one immediately. There's one involving a dog, and there's another involving loss. Both writers are on here tonight. And I'm just going to throw up one panel and just tell you how much this hit me. And this is a panel by Te, and I'm going to share the screen. T, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I messed it up, so it's my fault.
I really am just the worst. So here's the panel. Now, coming from somebody that has been through some loss, especially very recently, seeing how people deal with it and then hide themselves in various ways. This panel here, will you ever go away? Will you ever look at me and not feel pain again? No, but that didn't come from you, because it comes from inside. T, thank you so much for writing this story. Where did this come from?
I'd had the character in mind for a very long time, and I was like, how do I make a story out of this? Because his present self and his past self, I always knew that they were going to interact together, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what setting. And then I get to be part of this anthology. I'm like, yes, I get to finally use him. I get to finally inch into this character and have him on the page. So that's basically where the character came from. That's what the story
So what you're saying is you have more stories in mind with this character.
Hopefully. Yeah. I don't know. It's the thing with characters. Sometimes you see them in one setting, which is how I saw this character. Originally saw it as a screenplay. And then I was like, no, this fits better as a comic. But I love this character. And if there's some projects I've been working on for a while that I need to just finish up on, and especially like one's a superhero and comic series. I'm like, he could definitely fit in there. I think he'd be a really cool addition.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, take a look at Walking Dead. We had one story where we went, it's issue 75. I'm just going to go ahead and throw him into space. Why? Because I can. But yes, oftentimes the setting will help dictate how good this story is. And setting this at a funeral, it was one of my favorite stories of the book. I thank you so much for writing this story. And Ace had a very particular one that they were telling me about before broadcast.
Hi.
Welcome back.
I already emailed this to CK, but fuck you for making me cry. You're gonna hear that a lot, and I know you've already heard it a lot, but that's all I have to say about it. Y'all should read it. It's really good. All that jazz, but you're gonna cry.
Now let's see if you can defend yourself, you sweat from a baboon's balls.
Whenever they say fuck you, it's because they love it and it hit home that hard.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Those are the two reactions. Either I'm so heart touched and it's beautiful, or fuck you.
Yep.
Those are like the two reactions they get to that story.
Well, the last time Ace said this to a creator, it was the creators of Stray Dogs.
I remember.
Please don't. No, please don't do that again. You're the second person to do that. Please do not lump me in with Stray Dogs. I can't. That one was really traumatic for me. I don't think my story is traumatic. It's just, emotional. That one was really traumatic for me. But
it was traumatic, but CK, wow, what you did in the span of 5, 6, 8 pages, they did over the story of 5 issues. And you were able to hit that home in 5 pages, not even in the full 5 pages, 4 pages of character work. And you just,
I totally agree. Because that was one of my favorite stories too. And I'm a big person on twists, and it was a huge twist because I was thinking one thing and I was like, oh, this is a whole different thing. And I like when the story does that to me. It messes up my head.
Well, thank you all for the kind words very much.
The art made me cry, and I knew it was coming because I've edited the story. So, yeah.
I think that was one of the very first scripts we had, that and Ben's. And I remember reading it, and I had no idea how to give feedback because I was just, this is so good. This is so good. How do I give feedback? This is so good.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that's like, I was very lucky in that a lot of people were like, oh, it's really good. It's really good. And I'm one of those people that has 12 people said, don't change a thing. And I'm like, no. There's something here that can make it better. Please change things. I want to improve my craft. You can't just tell me things are good. You got to tell me something I can work on. And thankfully, I got a couple of people say, consider tweaking this here and there. And it paid off. So.
All right. So you want specifics. I can do specifics. The reason why I really appreciated this story is for the fact that you were able to articulate in a way loss and tragedy and do it in a way where we feel something. On top of that, I didn't know what was going to happen from one page to the other. Oftentimes, you can see from writing classes, a writer, or rather a teacher, will give you a project that will put you into a corner and you have to write yourself out of it. And oftentimes, if you're a writer, you'll know what's going to happen from one beat to the next to the next. And with yours, I didn't see what was coming. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen next. And that's a treat for me because when you read as many comics as this behind me, you kind of have an idea what might happen next. And it's usually the superhero stories that a lot of us cling to, but it's the things that touch us and make me feel something that's really what I consider art. And T, CK, you both created art.
Thank you. That really, really means a lot. Yeah.
I second that.
I just want to say you can also see the dog peeking behind CK occasionally.
He
The dog in the
Puppy?
story is based on. Yeah.
he wants outside,
Nice.
so he keeps going to the back door, pawing at it. But he's just gonna have to hang in there.
But yeah, just watch like behind their shoulder and you'll see them eventually.
He'll pop in and out.
And I was muted.
No.
So let's talk about comics. I know y'all wanted to make comics for some time now, whether it be a year, whether it be since childhood. What are your inspirations? Who inspired you? What comics have you read? And are you still reading?
Oh yeah.
Hey, Solis, why don't you start? You haven't had much of
Yeah,
a chance yet. Go
that
for it.
sounds fun. Yeah, I am a huge a generation before me was reading comic books. My dad and his twin brother had a whole collection of Spider-Man that date back to the early days, and he had a whole
Nice.
closet just filled with Stan Lee and random beautiful comics. And from there, just the general pop sensations of it. Like I remember vividly going with my uncle to Batman '89, and then going to comic book shops after that. And it never really occurred to me until way later in life. I was more music writer. I was playing guitar and doing punk rock, having a real good time. But it definitely kind of got squashed when I got more roped into the music industry and started doing production, and that kind of slowed me down writing wise. But my imagination was still running wild. So I went to go see Neil Gaiman one night talk about Norse mythology, the book that he just released. And he just laid it right out in front of me. And I never know why I didn't think about it before, but writers write. And I had all types of journals, all types of weird poetry, all types of stupid stories that just, I've been a writer. What do I want to write? I love comic books. I've been in love with comic books forever. Right now, just rereading some of the original Silver Surfers, Romita, Stan Lee, beautiful stuff. The Gail Simone, Red Sonja, been reading that omnibus recently. That thing's mind blowing. And then, what is it? Son of Kal-El. Yeah, the new Superman. That has been amazing. Tom Taylor.
Yes, Tom Taylor's killing it on that.
Everything. It's just mind blowing. But like stuff like that is showing how much comic books can progress. And definitely joining this crew and everything like what I kind of wanted a community to join to make comic books with. So when Scott announced his class, it seemed like a great just foot in the door. Just hey, go meet some more people, some more things happening. And then when I think Ben was the first one I reached out to about joining up with the Discord and just finding everybody in there exactly on the same page, just beautifully loving comic books and just wanting to create something that really kind of makes you think in a story. You know, everybody wants to have
Solis. You had me at Sandman.
Oh, that right there.
Oh
That's been my day. Yeah.
Still need to read it.
Dude, you have to, like, especially before the Netflix thing comes out.
I know.
The beauty of it all, just the first comic book in the whole arc.
For those that weren't reading comics in the 90s, there was a lot of, and I hate to put it this way, it was garbage. It was extreme comics. And if you were into superheroes that were in the 80s or 70s, you just kind of fell off and you fell into Vertigo. And it's those stories that carried a lot of us through the 90s and the early parts of the 2000s until the writers caught up going, hey, we can actually make good stories and not just do done-in-ones and quick fixes and not have to solve everything at the end of the day like a PSA. Because life is complicated and so should stories.
The legend that is Grant Morrison. Yep. So much of that.
I love that.
Born out of Vertigo. Yeah.
So T, what are your inspirations?
I mean, I'm just gonna say Neil Gaiman because
all encompassing, yeah.
So I grew up writing stories, really. I didn't get into comics. I didn't even read comics until I was 17, and I started writing them actually in 2020 because I needed something to get me through that. But I'd been reading Neil Gaiman's stories for a very long time. I love The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I loved his writing, and I I don't know when I found Sandman, but I found it on Hoopla, and I was in love. And I think it was the second comic that I had my mum read because we were trying to do book club, and she fell in love with it. And I've I still have a long way to go in the Sandman series. I think I'm on volume 4 right now, but I love his work. I just love it. But honestly, I'm going to end it there. I'm also no. I want to say during I don't know a huge amount of Marvel and DC, so I read I started watching the YouTuber Casually Comics, and they do an amazing job at talking about the history of the comic book industry, which has been something I've always been really fascinated. I'm like, how did it become what it is today? And so it's a combination of artists and stories I look up to. Tom Taylor as well. My friend from college turned me onto him, and I'm like, I loved Seven Secrets. But yeah, it's both YouTubers talking about comics and actually artists in it, and it's such an amazing thing because it's the actual comics, and then it's how people digest them and how they talk about them. I don't know. That's it.
Nope, that's great. And if you are into Sandman and if you haven't gotten around to it yet, you will love Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
I need to read that. I need to read it so much.
Me too. It's on my list.
Back in the 80s, early 90s, it was the Brits coming on over here and going, hey, Americans, we're going to show you how it's done.
Killing Joke and one after another. Yep. Beautiful.
So, CK, what inspirations do you have that led you up to today?
So I started reading comics pretty young. I was probably like 10 or 11. Got into New Warriors was my very first comic I read. A friend brought it to school one day. Mark Bagley's art, the way he drew Van Sastrovic, Marvel Boy, I immediately realized I was gay and fell in love with comics ever since. I was like, this is gorgeous. And so I started reading comics right then and there. Got into Image pretty early on because, when you have artists like Jim Lee and stuff, you can't help but gravitate toward that. So I loved Marvel and DC. Like, I have a lot of friends who only read the big two, but thankfully, because I started Image pretty quickly in the '90s, I wasn't afraid to like venture out and try, other publishers. And so while I still read Marvel and DC, I do read a lot of stuff from Boom and Dark Horse and lots of indie publishers, etc. So I sorry, he's wanting. You can see him now. There's Bandit.
There he is.
Yeah. But I'm not letting him out because all he does is stick his head out and then he just comes right back in. I know he doesn't need to do anything, so he's just gonna have to chill. Yeah, but yeah, so I got into comics pretty early on, and I started writing really young. But then I just took another course in my life, and now when I saw Scott Snyder was doing a class, I was like, at 40, maybe you should finally give this a shot and see how it works out for you. And so I've started writing seriously just starting this year. And I've been fortunate enough to get into some anthologies and have a graphic novella, forthcoming with a publisher I can't announce yet. But I've gotten pretty lucky in that regard that things happen so fast. But my inspirations, Alan Moore's Promethea, just blew my mind. It came out around 2000, so I was about 20 years old. J.H. Williams III on art, and just that whole exploration of Jewish mysticism. Being from the rural South, that is not something I was used to seeing in on the page. So it was really cool. So Alan Moore, of course, Neil Gaiman. I'm just gonna say it again, because the Sandman, you just can't beat the Sandman. And Alan Moore Swamp Thing. Those to me, if you'll notice the way I write, it is kind of in that lyrical vein, and that was heavily inspired by the way Alan Moore tackled Swamp Thing. And so those are my biggest inspirations right now. I read like 60 titles a month, but I guess my favorites right now would be how Tom Taylor is killing it over at DC. Nightwing, Son of Kal-El, his Suicide Squad was amazing. Rainbow Rowell is killing it on She-Hulk right now. And the Jen Bartel covers alone are worth the price of admission. Really digging a lot of stuff from Boom, House of Slaughter, Something is Killing the Children, Wind, pretty much anything James Tynion the Fourth writes, I am there for. So yeah, I could go on and on, but I don't want to take up, everybody else's time.
Great choices for sure.
So what you're saying is read more indie comics, huh?
Absolutely, yes.
Rain, Saga, Something's Killing the Children, and one of our new favorites, we now have Beware the Eye of Odin from Doug Wagner, writer of Vinyl and Plastic. We like indie around here, even though you see a lot of.
But yeah, along those lines, what is it? The whole world blind? I'm probably messing up the name, but it was really good. Step by Bloody Step. Cy Spurrier does some really great indie stuff, even though he's a big name. And I'm really a fan right now, of course, like I said, Fellhound, Matthew Wilding. They're doing phenomenal work in the indie world. And of course, Brent Fisher. But that's a given. So
I still think it's weird seeing Cy Spurrier's name on comic books when I remember him writing articles for like Bleeding Cool and Comics Buyer's Guide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but man, his stories are so good. That Hellblazer run is amazing.
it was fantastic. It's also really hard for me to get used to saying Cy Spurrier because he wrote as Simon Spurrier in the beginning, so I have to like catch myself. But yeah, that Hellblazer run was insane.
We got one more person, Aubrey. What kind of inspirations led you to be into comics today?
So I started with Batman the Animated Series, like when I was little, because my family is not like geeky. I'm the geek of the pack, and so they're into like sports and stuff. So, but like that and the early Spider-Man cartoons really led me to it. And then when I was able to drive, when I was 16, I could go to the comic shops by myself, and so I got into things like Gail Simone's Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, Gotham City Sirens. I was really into DC because I just had not met Marvel quite yet. A little bit, but like not a ton, And so I think I got some graphic novels like Daredevil or Elektra graphic novels. Like I just kind of kept going after it. And then as time progressed, like I got really into it in the latter half of the first decade of 2000. And got into like Kelly Sue DeConnick, Ed Brubaker. Like I love Kelly Sue DeConnick's Captain Marvel run, obviously, and I love pretty much anything she does. And then I also really loved Brubaker's run on Captain America. Like I obviously didn't know the history when I first read it, but like I'm a huge Black Widow fan, and like the way they connected those two storylines and really brought those characters together, I found really compelling. And then as an editor, I really appreciate things like things Sana Amanat. I might be saying that wrong, but that she's worked on.
You're right.
Yeah, and she's obviously continued to move up in the world. Like she's worked on Ms. Marvel, the TV show now. So, and then I just took a class with Shelley Bond. She was teaching like her editing class, and it was amazing. And I just love her style. So there's lots of different people I look up to. I think I just love stories that I'm also sometimes comics kind of lacks, like traditional superhero comics kind of lacks the romance angle, and I love romance stories. And so when I find that in the more traditional comics, and now when you move out into indie, you can find whatever you want. Like it's just fun to see really cool stories. Like I really love Lore Olympus on Webtoons. Just because it's a great romance.
I
done
love
really well.
Lore Olympus.
Yay! And I'm addicted. Like, I don't know how many years into this we are, but I'm still reading it. Like, I still check in every week, and I pay coins for it because I just want to get it as soon as I can and support the creators. So I think, I don't know. I think Lore Olympus is doing amazing things, and I hope to see. There's a tons of stuff on Webtoons that I think more traditional comics fans would love too. So,
And you brought up Sue DeConnick, and
of course.
have you heard how she got Bitch Planet published at Image?
No, I haven't heard that story.
It's a very short one, and it was this. They brought her in. She didn't have to pitch anything. They just said, we would love to be in business with anybody that wants to publish a comic book called Bitch Planet.
That's awesome.
Aubrey and I have talked about that one. I was just about to add to that before you said it. I was like, I think we need to shout out if somebody hasn't read Bitch Planet or Pretty Deadly by Kelly Sue DeConnick. They're so phenomenal. But yeah.
And all the Captain Marvel stuff was really good too.
Amazing.
Here, I can pull a worst.
Wonder Woman Historia.
Hold it up.
Worst.
Oh. Beautiful.
It's just pure luck that I have that next to my desk.
Well, right after we talk about this, we usually go into our next part of our program, which is called Comic Therapy. I don't know if you all are still reading comics or pick them up on a Wednesday, but we usually just show what we picked up. This week I didn't get any back issues, so it's going to be a little bit quicker than usual. It wasn't too big of a stack, only this much.
It's small. It's a small stack compared to what you usually get.
Mm-hmm.
Last few weeks I've been getting a lot of sub 100 Avengers, so I had to lay off this week until Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm gonna go grab my stack then really quickly, okay?
grab your stack. Otherwise, you're all free if you need to get out. We want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. Down below, we have Twitters, their Instagram, everywhere that they can be reached. And also, don't forget to check out talesfromthecloakroom.com. The comic book is up, is for sale. Do check that out. So, anybody want to show some comics tonight?
I can jump in. I don't have an LCS. Oh, yeah. I don't have an LCS. I live in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, so I don't really have a comic shop that I can go get things at, and I really miss it because I used to. But I did get this in the mail this week.
Oh, I got mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Shelly Bond's. I'm trying to make sure it's centered. Shelly Bond's Filth and Grammar. She said she'd get it up on her website once she's got it all fulfilled. Like the extra copies will be up on her website. So, yeah, it's great. It's a really good book.
See, Solis has it as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're at that part of the program. It's called Comic Book Therapy, and here we go.
I'm going to get what I want.
Christ. Comic books. Comic books. Comic books.
Oh my god.
Comic books.
Let's get some
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 Comic books.
That is so great.
I love it. I love it every time.
I'm a weirdo. What can I say?
You're not a weirdo. That is
Yeah.
classic millennial comedy. It's gorgeous.
Oh, wait till you see what happens if any of y'all introduce a banger. So, who wants to go first?
I got my stack right here. Sure. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
But it's kind of all back stuff because I always wait for a good 2-3 months before I get actually back from work. So I'm gonna pull up this guy
real
right
quick,
now.
I just wanted to throw this out there. T, if you're in Miami, do you have an LCS yet? If not, we can talk later. But
Yes,
there's a
please.
good shop, but there's a couple that gotta stay away from. But we
Okay,
don't
good to
publicize
know.
those on there.
Good to know.
Space.
Thank you.
Back to season.
You get it. The return of John Romita Jr. To Spider-Man. I'm kind of been very interested. It's always been beautiful, the old art and stuff, but this is where I'm going next. Further down, I got, of course, Batgirls 1. Beautiful cover. And Silver Surfer Rebirth. Beautiful
I need
pulls.
to pick that up.
It has been glorious. Ron Mars return, Liam Sharp. Oh, sorry, Ron Lim.
The cover A's are brilliant, and the Pacillo covers are amazing as well. Just picked up the 5 today.
I still need to go back and pull up the most modern pull that I have over there. This has just been my last 2 weeks.
No, it's all good. Oh, were you going to throw up more?
I mean, I have other stuff, but I was pretty done with those. You know,
Oh.
still reading Green Lantern. Always fun. Weird.
Well, that issue is starting to blow up because they're going to be introducing a whole new series with John Stewart leading a whole new Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, that whole setup has been very strange. I didn't know that I really wanted to get behind it for a while, but him figuring out his roll through time has kind of been cool.
At this point, they're kind of going, hey, these ongoing series are pointless. We're just going to do mini-series from now on that tie into nothing. That's okay.
Sometimes they work out. Just their own little standalone. Sometimes they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, like right now you have Tom King writing about 2 different maxi series. The one finished up today and the other one's still going, killing time. Both Batman. So who wants to go next?
I'll go because, oh no, Chris, do you want to go?
No, T, you go ahead.
All right. This will be very short. So I have The Coldest City, now known as Atomic Blonde because of the movie. And I have Dead Works, which is another comic anthology series, which I'm really looking forward to. But I have sadly not have time to go to a comic store, so I've just been reading a whole bunch of webtoons. And I am still waiting for Everything Is Fine to return. I will forever be waiting. It'll be 84 years and I'll still be waiting. But I look forward to being able to go to a store.
It's okay because we were waiting 3 whole years for this series to come back, but it did eventually.
Yay!
Always have hope.
Always have hope.
Was it just 3? It felt so much longer than that.
Yeah, someone I ran into today, they saw me reading the trade, and they're like, "Yeah, it wasn't like 4 years it returned." I don't know what the time frame was.
Well, COVID happened, which made 2020 seem like both 20 years and 1 year at the same time. So it just blurred all time.
She's in play mode.
Oh, you got the kitty out.
Yeah, and she's like chewing on my hand.
Brutal. How old is that baby?
If I had to guess, maybe 4 or 5 months now. She's been, I've had her since I had to bottle feed her. I got her at 4 weeks, I think.
Oh, wow. I love cats.
And now
I'm sorry.
I do too.
Mine are running around all this room and out the room and back in the room and off of comic books that are probably worth a lot more than my life.
I'm a mean mom. They're locked out. They're with dad.
I can't lock her out until I get her vaccinated because there's another cat, older cat around.
Yeah.
Well, you would hear something else otherwise. Meow for the next hour. So I just learned to put all my comics in Mylar and hope for the best. So who wants to show next?
So I trade weight. So for one, so I can read a lot more comics. And then, hey, buddy. And then, so are you looking for stuff that we bought this week that is current that just came out? Or is it okay for me to talk about some of the backlog I've been reading?
We show anything that we bought this week.
Okay. So next person, because all of mine is read this week, but not new this week. So
that's okay because half the time I'm showing Avengers from sub issue 100, sub 100 X-Men, because I just pick it up during the course of the week, and it's on top of all the new stuff. It's
Okay.
everything because we love comics here, because comics are for everyone.
Sorry, I'm being attacked on all sides right now. Bandits behind me, and then Trojans right here trying to get some love-ins in my lap.
I love
So,
his name.
okay, so I finally read The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, Ram V and Company. No, this is a little bit older, but I have been a little bit busy with this little anthology called Scott Snyder Presents Tales from the Cloakroom. And so I haven't had much time to read. So I've been reading a lot of old stuff that's been sitting in my read pile. It's probably one of the best things I've read this year. Um, Even the lettering is beautiful. Everything about it is just top notch, and it's such a unique story. This idea that the goddess of death has had to retire because someone's discovered immortality, so she's sent to Earth. Very cool concept, and you can't go wrong with Ramvi. Finally got around to reading The Good Asian. Uh, Gonna butcher the name, but I think it's Pornsak Picheshote. I could be wrong. And Company. Um, Really great job. I loved. It's like a noir story, but set in back during the Chinese Exclusion Act. So it also blends, history with the noir plot. So, I learned a lot because I don't know how it was elsewhere, but growing up in the South, you did not learn about the Chinese Exclusion Act. So, um, it was both good from an entertainment perspective, but also good from an educational perspective. I'd say the other three big ones, I'll keep it short, was I finally read the final volume of Seven to Eternity, Rick Remender, Opeña, etc. This one, I do love Remender's stuff, this fantasy world about trying to take down this guy who rules through whispers and rumors, and very, uh, very in line with the climate we currently live in. And it ended. I haven't been totally sold on the entire series, but it ended phenomenally well, bringing it all back around to the family tragedy, and really, really, really loved it by the end. So if you ever dropped it, because it did take a long time to come out, if you ever dropped it, I highly suggest revisiting it. It's phenomenal. Speaking of aces, fuck you, CK, is Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino's Primordial. This was a big fu because I like, as Jenna Maroney on 30 Rock would say, it made me drunk in the bathtub cry like 3 times. It broke me. It really, really broke me. And I mean, it was in a good way. It was a phenomenal read, but still, it broke my heart. And then finally, Radiant Black. A bunch of people kept recommending this to me by Kyle Higgins and Company. Loved it. Like I said, I'm not a huge superhero person anymore, but Radiant Black was absolutely phenomenal. And I can't wait. I've already ordered volume 2. I can't wait for it. Has a nice twist in it. Speaking of twists earlier, that you don't see coming. And it's just a really fantastic read. If you like superheroes and you usually don't branch out from the big two, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm definitely hooked.
I definitely got to pick that up.
Speaking about hooks, here's a new hook for you that you didn't see coming, and it's a bit of a twist. Radiant Black is being turned into a movie.
No.
Just heard the news today. And as
That
you
was
see,
fast.
Avenger.
Jump on him.
So who's next?
I have nothing.
Pete?
Oh, I didn't pick up anything this week, so
I was trying to point to Aubrey.
Oh,
Again.
I already showed mine. I really only have this to show this week. So
Yeah.
It is a great one to see.
I will say The Good Asian is so good because I started reading at the very beginning of Scott's class, and one of the acts at the end, they have the part of the history is that they have all the acts that were implemented, and one of them was called the Snyder Act. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what it was, but I was reading it. I was like, Jesus. But it's such a good story, and I love the artwork in it, and I love the way it's told, and the fact that there was a genre about it based off a real police officer in Hawaii. I was like, I just need to learn about this man. I need to go on a Wikipedia wormhole one day just to learn about this man.
Yeah,
This is-
Tefangi's art on this is insanely good. They killed it.
Another book to add to my list.
Well, that's one where I have the first issue, the second issue, the fourth, the fifth, and that was it because for some reason I just forgot the rest of them. But then again, when you look behind me, that's my read pile. That's a problem. I need to fix that because I'm putting everything into Mylar, but eventually all 19,000 some odd will be in it, and then I can finally read them again. I'm looking at Aubrey's face for the horror, and that's the same horror I feel in my heart.
I got my collection down to like 2 short boxes, but I mostly read digital because, like I said, I live in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, that sounds intense to me.
Yeah, you can usually find me in Zoom AA meetings where everyone's just going, "Is that shit real?" Like, yeah, please don't. I'm just putting shit into Mylar one after the other. I call this meditation. Aubrey, do you have any other comics you want to show?
I don't have anything off the top of my head. I've been reading the rebooted Buffy by Jordi Belair, but it's in the other room. Just because it's the same story, but it's set in 2020, and so they have like cell phones and stuff, and a little less misogyny, which is nice. So, like, I think
by him.
Well, it's not written by Joss. No, it's written by Jordi Belair, and I'm spacing on the art team right now. But it's really, really, I love it because it's Buffy, and I was obsessed with Buffy as a teenager. So, yeah.
Same here. And there's today 2 new books that came out. There is the updated Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's just called Vampire Slayer, and the other one is Buffy the Vampire Slayer 97. So we have 2 totally new series that just dropped today.
Cool. They just keep going with that. I reviewed some of the Willow comics like last year, and like they were really, really great. Like if you're a Buffy fan, the comics are worth checking out.
Yeah, I love that show growing up.
Me too.
I seriously watched the show
So much
just Willow.
Yeah, I mean that's what the Willow comic is. Like it was I reviewed it Persona Telepath not too long ago, and like it was so much fun to read because it's just Willow. No one else was there. Like there's references to the other characters, but it was really focused in on her, and it was great.
I say bring back the original actress. She's not in How I Met Your Father or whatever the name of that show was. So yeah, bring her back for a show in and of herself. They're doing it for Wednesday Adam.
There we go.
Very true.
So do we have any other books to show? Otherwise, I can go through this quick and we'll wrap up the show.
Sounds good.
Yeah, go ahead and show you what you got, Rob.
So here we go. Let's blow it up. So I'm going to start with the independents that came out today, and I have a little sticky here to remind me to download all of Remington Steele for my roommate's sister. No one needs to know that, but apparently someone wants to watch all 5 seasons of a 1980s TV show that the guy became Bond, but no one really cared about that much. Hey, hit me! Issue number 4. This is Jackett Call artwork. This guy is a local artist that blew the hell up.
Great cover.
His early stuff from Creature Entertainment. T and I were talking about that just before the show started. Jeff DeCall is a local artist. Creature Entertainment is a local company. I went to school with one, and that was at New World School of the Arts. And he was working with Creature Entertainment, Jeff DeCall, way back in the early days. So if you can find any of his early art, it goes for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars now because they were like under $1,000. So here we go. Buffy 97. This just dropped today. This is a new series because they just wrapped up the old one. This cover is the Kate Hutchinson cover. So there you go. Department of Truth has always been, don't want to destroy my comics. Department of Truth has been kicking ass lately, although I'm a couple issues behind. I think I wrapped it up with Bigfoot last. Next up, Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky. We were talking
Oh,
about.
I need to grab that.
Let me put this back a little bit further so it's not shining directly on the book. So Public Domain, this was based originally off of Zdarsky's, I keep wanting to call it Kickstarter. It's not Kickstarter, Substack. So this originated from there, finally coming out through Image. And issue 2 is already up on FOC, so make sure to order that if you haven't already. Righteous Thirst of Vengeance is trucking right along. For some reason, I just keep wanting to call this Old Boy the comic. Now, this is a comic based in Miami. It's on the Key Collector app for some reason. We'll see how this goes, but it looks interesting as hell. There's a dead angel that looks like it's been actively courted by a cutter. So it looks like this is going to be very interesting more than anything. I can't wait to read it. I've read none of these today.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's also a very queer-centric story too.
Considering the cover, that's a little unsurprising. The only thing that could maybe do it a little bit more is maybe giving him a little nipple ring.
I mean, I'm sold with anything queer, so.
But to be fair, way back in the 90s, they put Nightwing in an evil outfit that just showed his bare chest and he had a nipple ring. But no, he was totally hetero there. Sure, dick. Oh, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 130. This has always been a really, really good culmination of all the stories we've ever read, everything that we've ever watched on TV, but done a little bit more of a mature setting.
I need to get that in trade for sure. So many trades I need to get.
Well.
Now, I was about to be off of all the Buffy stuff until I realized Frank Avila was doing the covers. So this is Vampire Slayer number 3 with some shininess on it. Always like the holofoil. Now, I missed issue 2 of this a couple weeks back, so I finally picked it up. We Live, the Palladian storyline. This is after the horror that they committed to all those children from the
it was messed up. Great story, but so messed up.
And anybody that's trying to read this Palladian storyline, there's an issue 1, white and black. If you only pick up one, you're only reading half of the story because while they solicit them both at the same time, they're 2 completely different storylines. And if you miss one, you're missing out a little bit. Now, this is a homage cover. This would be DC versus Vampires Killers. This is the McFarlane homage. And it's going to be a Harley-centric story in the vampire universe that Tom Taylor's it's Tom Taylor, but Matthew Rosenberg's writing that one. Now, here we go. DC Comics, some more Johnson on his Mongol storyline with Authority. And anytime you put seriously, you put Midnighter and Apollo in a story, I'm going to read it. Reasons. Batman Beyond the White Knight, issue number 4. I can't believe this is getting put out so quickly. And when you were talking earlier about being into punk rock and into comics, well, Sean Murphy way back in the day put out a comic book called Punk Rock Jesus, and it's fucking awesome.
It's so good. It's so good.
So good.
After I read that, I went, anytime this dude puts something out, I've got to read it. And I'm surprised this finally finished up today. Batman Catwoman. This is the culmination of Tom King's 100-issue storyline that he intended to do in Batman, but took off because, hey, you're not a long-form story writer. You're a maxi and mini-series writer. And he goes, hey, you're still paying me, right? Okay. This came out last week. I missed it because this was a late FOC order, so my shop never offered it to me, but I went, hey, can you get that? I'll try. Hey, got it for me for cover price. This is the first time that Batman and Superman fused together through Green Lantern to become Fusion, like fucking
Fusion.
Oh! I can't believe we're doing Goku and Vegeta as Vegito. All right, we're on Deathstroke Inc., issue number 10. This is the B cover. This is year 1 of Deathstroke. Oh, so we're talking about Remington Steele here, huh? Fun fact about Remington Steele, according to Michael Eamon. Over Holt invented the persona of Steel because nobody would hire a woman detective, but then a con man actually took on the identity of Remington. Can you imagine? No, I've never watched the show. But I probably will be this weekend instead of Ms. Marvel. I would rather watch Ms. Marvel. I love Shazam. Me too. I'm watching the Shazam TV series from the 1974, and there's no rationale. I'd imagine any comic book adaptation from the 70s would have no rationale for existing. Except Wonder Woman. That had reasons. And maybe some Hulk. That could be a lot more like the Hitchhiker. I tried to hack into Robin Camp. Oh, look. Turns out hacking is harder than movies because what are you talking about, Michael? Are you finally in my computer here? Get out of my computer, Michael. Michael, get off my computer. Thank you. All right, more comics.
We love you, Michael.
I won't get through all this otherwise. So here is Detective Comics, another issue that I'm probably just getting for the covers at this point because I am at least 60 issues behind on Detective Comics. There's another issue that I missed. I had every issue except for this one for Human Target. This one came out about 2-3 months ago, but it's an ice cover. Beautiful. Did you try clicking a bunch of keys like the motherboard is down, and if I keep them on the line for exactly 32 seconds, I'll be able to track. This is not the plot of Sneakers, which that wasn't a great movie. Hey, he has a 36K baud modem. Wow, that's fast. It's amazing the movies that we would actually believe back in the day. Damn, I hit another firewall. I'll keep hitting them. Just like Robin's hitting them when it's Death to the Family. It has Flatline in it, and I'm digging Flatline. Like, they should give Flatline their own series. Here is Swamp Thing Season 2. I'm loving all the covers, and as we heard earlier, Rampy has been killing it here. I'm loving the storylines. Uh-oh, Kitty's throwing up. That's why you shouldn't be eating that plastic down there.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it's food and plastic. Don't eat plastic, cats.
Double whammy.
For Rose Gray, if they are still watching, yeah, I kind of made that same mistake. I got a issue of the Task Force X again, but I'm good with it because it's a fun little story, even though I've only started reading it halfway through because of the B covers. Avengers. Finally, we're at the Marvel stuff. I didn't get back issues, so you're only going to be seeing 2 that was ordered through the mail. This is a new storyline through the Avengers, and they have Savage going on. They're having a few more than the regular title. Like, hey, David Pepos now has a second print on his Savage Avengers #1. Wait,
Nice.
oh, David.
That one's great. I got to review that, and it was really good.
Nice.
I'm so glad that he's making it over at Marvel, so then he can go make more money over at Substack when he becomes the next James Tynion.
Let's hope.
Captain America, Symbol of Truth, issue #2. Now, this is when things get a little weird with the legacy numbering. So you're going to see up in the corner that 732 for the issue number. There's 2 different Captain America series coming out. One for Falcon Captain America and one for Steve Rogers. I don't know how they're going to label the legacy number. Too many Cap series. We had 0 for a while. Now 2's too much. Fantastic Four. This is a B cover that came out last week that finally came out this week.
I want to read this series.
It's fun. It's good. I'm glad that I got it. I don't know if I'll stick on board for all 5 issues, but I picked up many of the first issues. I mean, Art Adams. I'm going to pick up any Art Adams that's not like expensive because, hey, it's a ratio variant. Fuck you. I'm not paying $100 for a brand new comic that just came out when I'd rather spend $100 on something that came out 30 or 50 years ago.
Amen.
So here we have the first appearance of Martyr. Martyr would be Phyla Vel in her, like, I don't know, like dark uniform where she gets like a name, a code name. Martyr. I don't like what that implies. And here's Martyr in her second appearance because it came as a set for 15 months on the Eagles.
Who's writing Guardians of the Who's writing Guardians of the Galaxy now?
Who? Before it was Al Ewing that was writing it, and it was really good.
Yeah.
And
I love it,
it's
man.
super good and very gay, which was great.
Mhm.
And then it was canceled after
Yeah.
a fantastic storyline with Dormammu taking the head of Ego, and the Avengers had to fight, the Guardians had to fight. It was cross universe storyline, and you're canceled.
Yeah, I was really digging it.
Yeah, I loved it, and it was queer as hell. I loved it so much. It was so fantastic. But yeah.
But it's okay because Al Ewing's getting to write X-Men Red, which has a great cover this week. Iron Cat issue number 1 dropped today. This is a continuation of Black Cat 11 and 12 from the first series that Jed MacKay was writing, where Black Cat got a new upgrade with her uniform. But this series is all about who's inside the uniform. It's not Felicia Hardy. Who can it be? Who's the motherfucker that stole my outfit? Only one person can wear Felicia's uniform. Better not be Mary Jane, because otherwise Peter's going to want to threesome again, and well, Mary already knows about that. This is one of my favorite covers of this week. I loved it so much.
Oh my god, I have to get it. They really are a dynamic duo.
Ask Lady just in case she might have seen one at the store. I picked up the second copy because when I showed it to her, I don't know, about a month ago on FOC, she's like, "Can you order me a copy?" I'm like, "Of course I can." And my shop almost didn't get the 2 of them for me because it's like, I don't know if I should get. I only got 2 copies. I'm like, it's not going all for me, and I'm not a seller. I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to Lady Fantastic. Yeah, sure, go ahead, have it. Over to you, lady. Next up here is the second print of black, white, and red. Okay, second print. And we were talking about Rainbow Rowell working on the She-Hulk, and I don't really have any bangers that I'm going to be showing for y'all tonight, so I really hate to do it, but this is what one looks like.
Warning, 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 warning. Banger alert, banger alert. Holy fucking shit. Look at that fucking book. Oh my fucking god. Look at that fucking book. Oh my god. Look at that book. Look at that book. Jesus. Oh my god.
I like turtles.
You know what I also like? Lachillo Perillo. This is that cover for Silver Surfer Rebirth, where we had a little bit of a problem last week where Marvel sent out to all their distributors, hey, by the way, you're not going to get all your books. You'll get all your books, but a lot of the B covers or A covers might not ship, but you'll get it next week. This was one of them because everybody got the issue number 5 of the A cover last week, but not this. So we have a new Moon Knight, we have a new Avengers team, and we still have, for some god unknown reason, a Winter Soldier 2099, because the Winter Soldier is exclusive to the Russian Cold War. That makes no sense in the I'm going to stop talking now. Here we have a new Avengers team in 2099. That's okay. Brian Michael Bendis isn't writing it. We had earlier tonight talking about, Brian Michael Bendis, the comic industry. I mean, yeah, sure. He made decompression its own art form. Making one issue into 5 issues for the trade, I'm okay. But hey, he did invent Jessica Jones. And I don't know how the variance is going to turn out. We have many different versions of Jessica Jones. It could have been Jessica Drew, but hey, she was being used for another storyline. He had to come up with his own character. And I thank him all for it because we got that kick-ass actress in the
Yeah, I love season 1 was classic.
Kristen Ritter is amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
The storyline with the Purple Man, it made me scared to death of the Purple Man. I didn't think that was impossible.
One of those cheesy old villains that actually is very terrifying when you really think about it.
Yeah.
If that was a real power, boy.
Oh, no.
Oh, mind control. Oh, I'm going to make someone rob a bank. Hey, I'm going to make you shoot your friend. Hey, I'm going to make you be under my mind control powers and live in my base.
Ever.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The silence of the fucking lambs. Let's get off of that. Let's go back to some cheese. Venom, Lethal Protector. I hear he has a new uniform. I flipped through it. I didn't see a damn thing. But David Michelin, once that whole debate of, hey, would that
Who's
exist
the
if Todd
lethal
McFarlane did
protector?
Trump what he did? Well, if David Michelin didn't create him, Todd McFarlane never drew him, and we never would have had Black Venom or Black Spider-Man. Hey, here's another. Oh God, no more mutants. We have
Sabretooth issue number 4.
I'm just going to check them off.
I'm
These are the
glad I jumped off that boat so many months ago.
I get them all.
I'm just chilling on the river while y'all are drowning in the mutants.
I can't quite explain why, but I'm still getting them all. I'm still.
I am reading Wolverine. Wolverine is pretty good.
That it is. So here's one. Here's 2. It's Michael Allred, so that's fine. His wife Laura is working on it too, so that's cool. There's 2.
Excellent. I love the puns.
It's a spin, not necessarily a spin-off, a sequel of Ecstatics or his original X-Force series. Here is 3 X-Force. Here's 4. Now this is a cool cover, and it is written by Al Ewing, so worth it to get just on that alone.
Why does that look like the Beyonder?
And here's 5, and it's really only 4, but this is the 5th because of the cover alone. Is Jen Bartel. I haven't seen her doing this kind of art in a while, where you're doing this through kind of paint just to get the stairs right, the backgrounds. I mean, she put it all in this piece. Usually it's just a character figure, not here. This one, she threw it all, and it works. I am glad to get this one. And that was it. That's everything that came out this week that I picked up. I need an intervention. So that has been the episode tonight. We want to let everybody out there know, thank you for watching, replay viewers, live viewers. We thank you so much for watching. Everybody that joined us tonight, T, Aubrey, CK, and Mr. Solis. I am going to have to pronounce that right from here on out.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for coming. I'm going to run that banner right down here at the bottom of the screen again, where everybody can find you. Otherwise, is there any upcoming appearances that y'all are going to be making that you would like to let the audience know about?
I know we've got Comic Book Club next week and a couple other engagements, but yeah, keep your eyes out. We're everywhere.
Yeah, you can. If you'll just follow at Cloakroom Comics on Twitter, we'll keep posting when we're going to be on various podcasts and stuff. And we still have until July 16th to before our Kickstarter closes. So we'd love if you check out the page and
check it out.
See if you dig the stories and stuff on there.
All right. Anybody else want to throw it out there?
Just thank you for having us all on here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you all so much for joining. We will be back next week, usual time. Next week, our guest is going to be Mezzo with a Wave Blue World. And here's a cool little bit of information I want to leave everybody with. You might have heard about Crash and Troy and the whole fiasco that was going on over there. Well, guess what? They have a new home. It's a Wave Blue World. We're going to be talking about it next week. So tune in for episode 150 of Not Near Mint. I can't believe it's on this long. 150 episodes. So thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week. We love you. Read all your comics. And if you don't, keep that pile growing. It never ends.
It never ends.
Thanks for having us, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to see this episode again, along with a catalog of back episodes and issues, surf on over to Not Near Mint on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe and hit that bell.